Welcome to the Millennial Diner podcast. It's me, Jeff. I'm here with Phil, as usual. And today, this is super sick. We have Kevin here today. Kevin, say hi.
Hey, everybody.
Kevin, thank you for coming to the diner with us. We're so excited to chow down and talk about an album, which I'm just going to say right now, before we even introduce the album, even though you probably clicked on the link and know what album it is. This album turns 25 years old this year. Let's just keep that in our. Let's just keep that in mind.
Yeah,
No math.
25 years young. But before that, Darla here, our waitress, is waiting patiently or impatiently. She's tapping her foot. She's got a sneer on her face. She used to be really happy to work here, and things have kind of gone downhill. So I'm just going to get us started. I'm feeling. This album just reminds me of like a classic diner meal, so I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna we'll do an Impossible Burger, platter, French fries, hold the coleslaw, and I'm gonna go with a root beer today. Actually, a root beer. Might as well give me a coffee as well. Just black coffee. Go with that. No, there's no caffeine in the root beer, so.
Okay.
Kevin, what are you feeling today?
I've been thinking about this all day. And when this record came out, I was in college, and there was a diner. I went to UT Austin, and the home of the breakfast taco. And there was an all-night diner that served the best breakfast tacos. So I will be having breakfast tacos and an iced tea, unsweetened iced tea.
Love it. Did they ever have unsweetened iced teas in Texas? I feel like that's like against the law there.
You got to ask for it. You got to make sure.
Yeah.
That you got to be specific. And sometimes they'll tell you we ain't got that.
We've already sweetened everything. We're sorry.
Exactly.
Can I have a sweet tea minus the sweet? That'd be really appreciate that.
Bill, did you just order a sweet tea? Is that what happened?
No, I didn't. I was No, sorry, that wasn't that. No,
Oh.
I'm gonna have let's see. I'm gonna have rye toast with some butter. A sizable pad of butter this time. I'm feeling gluttonous. And a black coffee. That sounds good.
All right. Well, the food is on the way. The unsweetened iced tea, the coffees. We're good to go. Kevin, you are a man of music. Is that true?
I am. That is true. For quite some time. I started taking piano lessons when I was in third grade. I started playing in bands when I was 15. Punk bands in a tiny little town in Texas, which we'll talk plenty more about that when we get into the record. And then in college, continued playing in a punk band, and somewhere around there kind of transitioned to more of like kind of an indie band, more of a weird kind of band where I played keyboard, and that has a lot to do with the Get Up Kid stuff we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then continued after college, moved to Chicago and played in a pretty heavy, wasn't heavy metal, like pretty hard, heavy rock band that we toured around a little bit. That was really cool. Got plenty of stories about that, which we'll talk about with some of these songs. And then moved out to LA where I played in a band for a while called Maxi Dean that we had a good run with. And then currently, or actually not currently, for a long time, I play a solo project called The Irish Goodbye, which sometimes it's just me, sometimes it's other friends play with me, and whatever. So I got some of those records on Spotify and all that good stuff. So yeah.
I will say, I think I met you when you were in Maxi Dean, and I needed to shake your hand because it's one of my favorite band names of all time.
Thank you.
As a child growing up with Beetlejuice on all the time was very important. So I was blown away that could be a band name, and you guys rocked, which was awesome.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah, and so like. Okay, we're talking. We'll stop dancing around with people. We're gonna be talking about the Get Up Kids, Something to Write Home About, from 1999, 25 years ago. I'm just gonna keep saying that. So you were in punk bands. What was kind of like your entry to the scene? Like what kind of made you who you are?
Man, it was not easy to get in the scene because there wasn't a scene. So I grew up in a real tiny town outside of Dallas Fort Worth called Keller, which is not so tiny anymore. It's actually getting pretty big these days. But when I was there as a kid, I mean, it was we had to drive. You know, the county we were in was dry. You couldn't even get liquor there. You had to drive to another county to get liquor. And even going to like to the grocery store was a 30-minute drive or whatever. Anyway, I was, I've always loved music. Played music, like I said, as a kid, like playing piano and stuff. And me and my buddies were starting to get into grunge, like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, Nirvana, all the big ones. We're starting. And I remember I was going to the CD store, Camelot Music or whatever, and I was looking for some CDs, and I came across No Effects's White Trash, Two Heaves, and a Bean. Um, and I bought that cassette. Actually, it wasn't even a CD; it was a cassette. And never looked back. I was like, "What is this?" And me and a couple of my buddies who I played in the bands with, they got into it as well. And yeah, we had kind of we were kind of the punk band in school. We had some other friends who played in like more of like an alternative band. And then there was a third band that was like the Christian rock band. And we would always like play backyard shows together and, with the Lions Club and stuff like that. But yeah, that was, got into it. And we didn't have record stores anywhere near us. So all of my, music that I bought, it was mail order. I was literally
Oh wow.
I was writing to Epitaph Records from their mail order. I was writing to Lookout Records for them, like handwriting letters to Lookout saying, please send me the Screeching Weasel record, writing to Epitaph saying, please send me the Rancid record. And then Doctor Strange records, they had the massive catalog. And so that was really cool seeing that because it was, in Fat Records, all that stuff. And, it was a time when if a band was on a label, I bought it. Like if you were on Fat Records, send it to me. I'm going to like it, which I don't, that's not even a thing that happens anymore. I don't think. But yeah, and then just ordering merch, like ordering Fat Records T-shirts and Rancid shirts and all that. But always ordering from. There was one record store that was kind of a few towns over me. It was like a 30-minute drive away or whatever. But I remember going there and finding like a pretty rare like Rancid live CD that I paid like $50 for, which was a lot of money. A lot of money back then. It's a lot of money now. And then, of course, if you went into like Dallas, like proper, there's like a record store there, but that was, it was too far for us. So yeah, it was all mail ordering all these records and all, getting into music through mail order.
Well, it's really interesting you say that because this was a few years before this album, not that far. I mean, a few years in the grand scheme of the universe, I guess. But Vagrant Records would grow up and be a very similar experience for a lot of people as Epitaph was, as Fat Records was. It would become like the brand of approval. Like if you like a Vagrant band, can get ready. You're gonna and those Vagrant bands spanned all over the quote unquote emo sound. I mean, Dashboard's on there, Saves the Day eventually gets on there, Alkaline Trio is on there.
Yeah.
Get Up Kids. But Get Up Kids really, I think, is this album, I think, is really what sounded the alarm that people need to pay attention to Vagrant Records.
Yeah, they were there. I mean, they bet the farm on him, literally. I don't know if you guys know the dude mortgaged his parents' house and all that stuff. I'm sure we'll talk about it.
We'll get it. We're not
talking about yeah.
But yeah, so okay, so that's kind of like your way in. I love that it was a No Effects album. Yeah. That's first for the amount of people who discovered punk rock because they saw a No Effects album cover and was like, "What is this?" And then then it was just Linoleum City. If you had to, and maybe you will one day, you never know, take a whole bunch of dynamite, like we're talking a ton of dynamite, a truckload of it, wrap it up around Mount Rushmore, and just like Coyote style in the Roadrunner Coyote cartoon, just let it go. And instead of it blowing up in your face like the Coyote, it actually works. You blow up Mount Rushmore, and then you get to put it back together. What bands or artists would be on there for you?
Oh, here we go. Well, first thing I did when I was preparing for this question was I looked up to be sure how many faces are on Mount Rushmore. So it's 4.
We play fast and loose. We're willing to add more if you want.
4, 5.
4 or 5. Okay.
Yeah, we can add to it. It's all right.
Good. Well, I did want to play with the rules a little bit, so I'll tell you how. So here is my punk rock emo Mount Rushmore. It is No Effects for sure. It is Taking Back Sunday. It is Vagrant label mates Alkaline Trio.
Mhm.
It is Against Me. And then I want to put one more face up there that's kind of a mashup of two faces. I love when kind of, the punk turned acoustic kind of stuff happens. So Chuck Reagan and Frank Turner are kind of sharing a
Oh,
little face there.
Okay.
I love that. I love that. Are you also hot water music, or is it just Chuck Reagan solo?
I mean, I certainly like Chuck Reagan's solo more. I'm not like a huge Hot Water guy. I mean, I love all the bands. Bouncing Souls should probably be up on my Rushmore too. But like, I never. I like I like a lot of their songs, but I'm not a hardcore Hot Water guy. But I do
No.
love Chuck solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
well,
are we adding is there a sixth head on this Mount Rushmore this time? We doing six and adding Bouncing Souls?
well. I think he wants to do like a Harvey
Yeah.
Dent Two-Face situation with
Yeah. Well,
Frank
no, but
and Chuck.
I'll throw Bouncing Souls up there too. Let's
Oh,
get a six. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah.
The Bouncing Souls
It's
are
gonna be the
always welcome. Always welcome.
always welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeff, do you know?
oh, go
I'm going
ahead.
to ask you a really quick question. Do you know what band appears the most out of every people we have on this show? What band pops up the most for the Mount Rushmore?
I can
I'm
narrow. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Taking Back Sunday because I listened to that episode today.
It's close. Jeff.
Yeah, I had it narrowed down to two. It was either Taking Back Sunday or Alkaline Trio.
I believe it's gonna be Alkaline Trio. I'm gonna have to go back
Oh,
and
you don't
double
have the
check.
answer in front of us?
No, of course not. No, of course not.
Tune in next week to find out the answer. That's how you keep them coming
I will.
back.
You know what? I'm gonna do some research on it. The sniff test on it was Alkaline Trio 100%. Definitely 100%.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it might be neck and neck.
Okay, we're going TBS and then Alkaline Trio research to be done. Tune in next week. We'll find out.
All right. Well, Kevin, we've done a few of these bands, not all of them, because we only picked one album so far of each of these bands, but more to come down the line, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We've done Taking Back Sunday, we've done Alkaline Trio, we've done Bouncing Souls. So fair game for anything though. If you could pick a song of any of these bands on your illustrious Mount Rushmore, one song to play right now for the good people at home, what song would you choose?
I think I'm gonna go No Effects Linoleum.
Good song.
I think
Good
that's a fantastic choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Also, Noah, very nice also because in the year of 2024, I believe NoFX is retiring this year, right? This is
They
their
are. They got their
Yes,
this is
big
it.
San Pedro last show, and Bouncing Souls will be there. Everybody else, yeah.
yeah. What a career. But here is the classic NoFX track, Linoleum. All right, well, that set the stage for today's little deep dive into 1999's album by the Get Up Kids, Something to Write Home About. Came out, this is kind of funny. I was doing my research. I have found two dates going back and forth all over the internet. Some say September 21st, 1999. Some say September 28th, 1999. I think whatever one you want to choose, you know how it was back then. You go to a CD store back then and be like, hey, can I buy something that's not out on the street date yet? And if it was an indie CD store, they might just sell it to you. So we'll go with those rules. But yeah, this is, as we had mentioned earlier, this was on Vagrant Records, produced by the Get Up Kids themselves and Chad Blindman and Alex Brawl. This is the second full-length Get Up Kids album, coming off of 4 Minute Mile a couple of years before that. Yeah, these guys are, Nebraska, right?
Kansas.
Sorry,
Kansas.
totally blanked on that. Yes, they are from Kansas. So they are holding the flag of Midwest emo, high and proud. A little more south, I feel like, than most of the Midwest emo bands of that time. But yeah, I mean, there was a band called Superchunk who was very influential to them, and I learned about them later, and I listened to them like, oh yeah, they definitely influenced the Get Up Kids. And then they were also fans of Jimmy Eat World at that point. And also Jimmy Eat World, I think we're talking about 1999. There's probably 3, I think, massive emo albums that come out that year, indie emo albums, and that was Jimmy Eat World's Clarity, which was Capitol Records, I believe, not even indie, Through Being Cool by Saves a Day, and this one. and it was also the year of Enema of the State. So I feel like you look back at those four albums in particular, it changed the course of everything in this genre from this point forward, and they all had that important part. Um, yeah, it was Midwest emo with pop punk and hooks for days. And also, I believe one of the greatest album covers of all time.
That's pretty great. That's pretty great.
I
I
mean, yeah,
I remember it was CDs. You either had the plastic jewel case or you could have the cardboard, more eco-friendly, foldy kind of case, and this was the cardboard one. I just remember the cardboard ones would always just get thrashed because they'd be
oh
in your
yeah,
car and they'd be around. And so I remember just watching those robots get scratched and stained and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, great cover.
yeah. You're right. I was the soft cover. Yeah, it's absolutely right. I completely
Soft
forgot
cover.
about that. Oh man. Um, you know, for the people at home, what we're talking about robots is this album cover is it's a drawing, and it looks like a very rudimentary drawing in a lot of ways, but simple in but beautiful. And it's two robots. It looks like they're kind of in love. I always thought, two robots in love,
Yeah.
both with two very different kind of eyes popping out of their heads. The color work of the gray robots against like the purplish background. It just seared into my head. Like it, I see that album cover and I start to hear every song on it, and that to me that's the work of a great cover.
Yeah, they had a great
I don't
cover.
know.
Like I
Oh,
love 4 Minute Mile. It's just the dangling cigarette with the track team.
Yeah, they were already doing very well with the album covers. Yeah, so this and we should talk about, especially if anybody wants to talk about how this album came to be on Vagrant to begin with, because 4 Minute Mile comes out, it's pretty small in the grand scheme of things. Like I never even heard of Get Up Kids until this album, so I didn't even hear 4 Minute Mile until after I heard this album.
I got into them because of the Vagrant. I think it was spring or summer sampler, and it had 10 minutes was on there. There was a face to face cover, I believe, of NXS's "Don't Change," and then maybe another song. But that's I was same as you. I had not heard 4 Minute Mile, and I heard down 10 minutes, and I was like, "What the hell?" And so that got me into them. And then as soon as that was around around the time that the Something to Write Home About came out, and then that was it. Yeah.
And it also there like the Get Up Kids universe, the cinematic universe of the Get Up Kids also included another band called Reggie and the Full Effect,
Yep.
which James Dewey, who plays the keyboards, um, James Dewey, emo celebrity, because not only is he in the Get Up Kids, not only did he do Reggie and the Full Effect, he actually becomes the keyboard player who hits that G note on the Black Parade World Tour when it came out. So a very important figure in this world. Um, yeah, and it was just a time where like all these bands were popping up, and they were. I mean, I remember seeing a festival in the early 2000s called Skate and Surf Fest in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and it was the Get Up Kids and Reggie and the Full Effect. And Reggie and the Full Effect was just the Get Up Kids, but they all put on wigs or something and like changed
Yep.
changed instruments. Uh,
Yep.
Great times. Uh, but
And
yeah, this.
James Dewey was he the drummer in Coalesce, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
he's a legendary staple to this whole scene
Yeah.
for sure.
I remember looking at this cover, like no kidding, and being like, "The fuck is this? Like, this is such a joke. Like, I don't get this. Like, I don't. What are they doing on this thing?" And I was like, "Whatever, I'll try it," because I was like, I think I picked it up. I didn't have. I was trying to remember what kind of cover I had. I think I had the cardboard cover, and I remember it being damaged. Like it literally had like a watermark on it. And I think I
Mhm.
bought the CD for like $4, and I was like, "Sure, why not? Let's try it." And I'm glad I did because the beyond the cover, I'm not. It's a very iconic cover. I don't get it, but that's fine. I don't have to get it. I like what's behind it, a lot because that is what Kevin, you had talked about. Like I grew up big Epitaph fan, the Fat Wreck fan, and like SST fan, and just so like I was like I will consume whatever's on that label because
Mhm.
this band is on that label. And with the Get Up Kids, this is actually because I know you had mentioned that they had bet the farm on it, which is true because without this album selling, I had to look it up. It ended up seeing selling for 140,000 in sales, which is pretty big for an indie record. That without this album, I never get into Dashboard or Saves the
Hmm.
Day or Alkaline Trio or anything else on Vagrant. And actually, even Vagrant adjacent, like I don't really even get into like Drive Through Record stuff, like because that's kind of in the same ish area. So like that's why this album ends up being an extremely important album, not just for me, just because it's I love it, but because also I broadened my what other record labels can I go to, and then it became like, okay, if it's on Vagrant, good enough for me, I'll buy it.
Well,
Yeah, that
Phil,
was I had a very similar experience of like it was such a like epitaph fat lookout and Doctor Strange was also a label, but they also had other stuff. But I remember when Vagrant came out, I was like, oh, what's this new label? And now I need to listen to all their bands. God, so yeah, totally hear you on that.
you're triggering an old memory, and I feel like it was called Vagrant Life on the Street sampler, was like kind of one of
Yes.
the early ones,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that would actually showed the Vagrant. Like there was an actual Vagrant with his like trench coat or something. If I remember correctly, it's just popped back in my head, an old memory of that. Um, Phil, your hatred of robot love aside, uh, clearly from the cover. The other thing
Clearly,
I think that really helps this album is because 1999, that word emo really starts to pop up for the first time in a new context than what it had been before, right?
right.
Like like the seeds of what would eventually become the Fall Out Boy emo scene starts here because with this band, with that, I think in the cover says it because you even said like, "What is this?" And
Yeah,
you put it on, and we're about to talk about that first track. You put it on, you're like, "Oh, this is punk. I love this. Oh, I know what this is. It's fast. This is like hooky. Okay, I got this." And then very quickly, it gets very twinkly and soft and
Yep.
emotional, and that balance that they play through this whole album really, I think, is. I feel like it doesn't even get as much credit as it should at this point.
see, I think you're 100% right on that because I feel like this is the first, like, okay, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but like, I feel like this is like the first album we kind of have that I don't, maybe it's not Midwestern emo, but let's go with it. Maybe a Midwest emo or emo that we kind of know and love today. Like without this, we don't get there because that was 99, right? Or 90, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
25 years
Saves the
ago.
Day, 25, yeah, let's not do math. Thanks so much. But like Saves the Day still had that like hardcore element to them, right? At this
Mm-hmm.
point, I feel like they had that's still there. I feel like no all these other bands still retained a lot of that older other elements that they had. And then you have Get Up Kids come in and they had this new fresh sound that I think like emo becomes. And I think that's why I feel like without this particular album or Get Up Kids in general, who Get Up Kids hated the term emo, if I remember right, hated being called an emo band, which is because they're always like, well, just an alternative band. I'm like, yeah, just embrace it. At this point, just embrace it. But without this album, we don't get into emo as we know it whatsoever. Like, and I think you're right. It does not get the cred it ought to because how important album, how important of an album it is.
I agree with that 100%. I think that what was a telling experience for me at the time was, I had a couple of friends who, we were in the kind of the punk scene, but most of my friends were not. The friends I hung out with on a pretty regular basis were not into the punk thing. And and I mean, whatever we'd listen to or whatever music we listen to. But I do remember at parties, it would be like, okay, I'm going to put on like a Bouncing Souls record. And they'd be like, okay, dude, we get it. Okay, enough of that. Turn something else on. But this record, I remember putting it on and it would be like, oh, it's kind of, but there's like a nice song. And like, even like, the girls I hung out with certainly weren't into punk. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's a nice, pretty song, And that was like, oh, everybody's in now. Everybody sees how great this can be,
It embraces that hard in the sleeve sensitivity that is the connective undercurrent to all these different kinds of bands and artists, because well, let's face it, the word emo is like a gigantic umbrella that crosses into punk. I mean, I don't know what is emo. You know, we always got that argument like, oh, music is emotional, but we have an illicit response when we hear the word emo, and for whatever reason, I think this is such a cornerstone of that. Because like, even think about like re-listening it. I mean, I actually was saying to Phil before we started recording, Kevin, it was like when we go to record these, I like to obviously I re-listen to the albums. A lot of them I listen to all the time anyway. But for this one, I don't even have to press play on a song. I hear it all when I see the song titles. I just hear the song. It's so just baked into my brain, my psyche. But that's why it's such a milestone album, and you know, to this day, it continues to. It's a uh, its fingerprints are on everything since.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
I mean, do you have modern baseball without the Get Up Kids? Like, you know, or any of the those other newer ish emo bands? Like you don't. You don't. It's just you don't. And I don't even think Dashboard hits as hard. I'll be honest. I don't think Dashboard hits as hard without the Get Up Kids. Because
Well,
they kind of they were like, hey, you know, it's okay to slow it down for a minute. And then, you know, he
Hmm.
took that and ran with it.
well, also Matt Pryor, the main singer of the band, had his also in the Get Up Kids cinematic universe has the New Amsterdams where
Yep.
it's where he's doing the dashboard thing. Like
Right.
around the
Yeah.
same time Dashboard started, he was already doing that.
So earlier I was saying my Mount Rushmore, you know, Chuck Reagan, Frank Tri. I was saying I like the acoustic punk thing, which you know you can definitely draw that line to Dashboard, but I think you don't draw that line at all unless you get the Get Up Kids do. I mean, you know, even Taking Back Sunday, like you know some of
Mm-hmm.
their slower songs. It's very like, oh yeah, it's like a Get Up Kids thing. We got the bangers, and then oh, there's a nice one, a pretty one. Um, you know, and again, it was like previous punk records didn't have those, or previous, you know, what I was listening to punk record didn't have those moments of slowdown.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you guys say that the date this album came out should be a holiday that we all celebrate?
Abs 100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Should be
Yes, it
100%.
should.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it should.
I think
It should.
it's around Labor Day, right? So we could
It should
maybe
be. Yeah, yeah,
group them
exactly.
together, maybe. Yeah.
Why don't we get rid of Labor Day? No, no, don't get rid of Labor Day.
Yeah.
We'll find something else.
Make it a 5-day weekend instead of a 3-day
Yeah.
or 4-day. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's just instead of
autumn equinox and Get Up Kids something to write home about day.
Yeah.
just add it in. Don't subtract something. Just add
Yeah.
more days
Add
off. I
more
like that
holidays.
better.
More holidays. Yeah.
All right, we're about to talk about track one of Holly, but I will also say, in keeping with the emo aesthetic that it sets up, the album title shouldn't blow past that either. Something to write home about it just bleeds emo.
Bleeds.
Yep.
Bleeds.
Absolutely.
Just
Yep.
like just give me something to write home about. Give me something to remember. Okay. Holiday is the first track. I don't know how about you guys feel, but man, when that guitar pick slide comes in,
Yeah.
The double slides.
Yeah.
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 Oh my
Yeah.
God. It it's like it just takes me into a whole nother, I don't know, mental headspace and universe in my mind of just like awesomeness. I'm just like, ah, and then that opening verse, how desperate and how intense he comes out with his kind of like softer, he has like a higher voice,
Mhm.
but he sings with such passion and
Yeah.
such urgency that it like what became everyone I used to know, where did our respectful convictions go? Uh it's perfect. I love it. I love it so much. What do you guys think?
I mean, I agree with you 100%. Whenever I hear just that, the opening pick slides, it also, for me, takes me back to that period of my life so specifically because, you know, it was a time before, you know, streaming, Spotify and all that. And it was like you had to physically put the CD on and, you know, and it's on there. So play it again, repeat, you know, just repeat the CD again and again and again. So it very much specifically takes me to that period of time. Um, and also, here, like for me as like, you know, I mean, it's more prevalent a little bit later in the songs, but you get the keyboard, you get that
Mm-hmm.
keyboard. And that when I first started, I was like, wait, what's this? Oh, there's keyboard in these awesome songs with this band I love. Thankfully I'm vindicated as a keyboard player. This is gonna work. So
Your time has come.
Yeah, for sure.
I love a double pick sled. It's so novel. It's like you come in and they're like, "Oh, you think we're gonna do one? Nah, we're gonna do two. Here comes the other one." It's funny, Kevin, you said that because it's that about it places you at a certain time in life, and I feel like this album really sums up 25 years ago. Don't do
Yeah.
math, Phil. It really sums up how the age it was in. I don't know. I hear it. I look at the cover as as goofy as I think robots on the cover are. I just I naturally get transported back to a certain time and just what this album meant to me and where we go from here. From it should be a
Mhm.
holiday. I just There's so many good lines, in this, particularly in Holiday, where it's like, I know you think my life would stop when you're away. Like, just like, dude, that's how big you think of yourself and how little I think of you. That once
Mhm.
I'll see you on, maybe we'll see each other holidays, buddy. We'll see you later. Do you get do you guys think this is such a shot at the old record label, the previous record label, right out of the gate in the first song?
I think, and this is mostly from the reading I've done because I didn't even know about the feud until I did some reading. But I think that's more in the Red Letter Day song, right? I think this
Right.
one, at least for me, because this also timing wise was I was in college and whenever I would go home on holiday, like there would be friends I would see only on holiday who were the friends who went to other colleges or didn't leave town or whatever. And so that also hit me so hard of like, yep, I know what he's saying. Lucky if we see you on holidays, worlds away. But yeah, I don't think I mean, I'm sure there's probably a little bit of the record label feud in all of the songs,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think the big fuck you is Red Letter Day to come up here. But
Mm.
Well, that is a current that I think you're hitting on, Phil, that theme of just like, how dare you leave me? How dare you screw me over? How dare you break up with me? There is that attitude of just like, how dare you do this to me? And I think,
Like, yeah, yeah, good.
well, yeah, because like for me, like there's, as you said, there's so many lines. The evidence presents itself accusingly. Your absence speaking everything you think of me. I mean, it's
mhm.
very self-centered.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It is. He's like, come on, dude. Like, you really, that's what you think of me. It is what you think of me. We only see each other whenever we go home, like Kevin was pointing out, and and it's like, well, even so much for you say goodnight, you're really saying goodbye. Like that's like, I'll see you later. See you at the next holiday, next summertime, or winter break, or the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, when
right.
everybody goes to the local bar.
Yep, the biggest bar night of the year.
Biggest bar day of the year.
I think I remembered reading somewhere that the impetus for the song was that Matt Pryor had gone home and there was a friend who was like upset with him for like getting out of town, for like leaving, like doing good or trying to do good or whatever. And like being like, yeah, you leave us all behind. And it's like, well, yeah, dude, I'm fucking playing in a great band. And then I think that was kind of impetus. And then I think he kind of, worked in the anger at the record label in there as well. So,
Which also comes up in another song too, that similar idea of like telling people to get out of town, which we have since we started this project, we have found many songs on these pop punk emo albums about getting out of your hometown. It's
yeah,
very it's a common feeling of
common thread.
malaise.
Yeah.
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 Um, yeah, but yeah, I think overall the speed of this one, it just, again, like I'm thinking about little young boy Phil being like, I'm punk. I don't want to listen to an album with robots and love on it, and then hearing this song, he's like, oh, this is awesome. This is sick. That's my impression of young Phil.
It's a really
Uh,
good impression of young Phil. I didn't know, I don't know young Phil, but it sounds spot on.
Fans at home, that was pretty damn accurate. That's that's what that was. Well, it's funny because really voice aside, but I did sound like that. But Jeff's not far off from the truth, where I was this, 15, 16, 14, or I went weird with my ages there, but like punk kid who was like angry about everything for no reason because I was like, I'm stuck in middle class and am so angry about it. I need to get out. But then along comes this little animal called Emo, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can, oh, and so I can slow it down and still be angry. I'm like, oh, okay, I can get behind this. This sounds okay to me. And then get a kid's perfect, the perfect mishmash of both of those things. Because there's a punky element to this song. It really is. Like there's
Oh
this
yeah, for
bratty,
sure.
snotty, the way they sing, the way they play. It's bratty and snotty, and I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the drums alone, just the fucking, four on the floor. Yeah.
Why don't we make it a holiday right now and play Holiday by the Get Up Kids? Well, track 2 is next, as always happens after track 1. Action and action.
Why? Can I ask you a question? Why isn't this song called Action and Reaction? Why is it Action and Action?
It's clever.
Anybody? It, I
I
always was like, it should be action and reaction because every action there's a equal but opposite reaction. So I was always like, why is it action and action? I'm
I
just
never
curious.
I never loved the title of this song. I know I understand it. It has a cleverness to it, but I feel
Yeah.
like the title of the song leads me to think it's going to be a different song. I don't know.
Okay. Or like maybe action and inaction or some
Yeah,
other sense.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is
It just
the only
it rings too much of like it just sounds like being on a set, like action, action. And I expected to be about a movie or something. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And somebody should tell the director he doesn't have to say, or he or she does not have to say action twice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I guess if you're starting with the background action first, okay, it doesn't matter.
that's okay.
But Phil, you're right. Action reaction makes sense because this is a song calling out someone who screwed you over. It feels like,
Yeah.
which is again a trope, if you will, or a common feeling on albums of this era and this genre. Yeah, don't cross somebody in a pop punk emo punk band.
No. You just could end up in a song. No, just don't do it. Yeah, I love this as a neck as a, well, also I love this as a number 2 song. I feel like it fits, title aside, a very good number 2 song. But I also think it's very, very, very personal because of one line it's to the tune of 10,000 lisps.
Mm.
It's very specific. We're talking to somebody very specific.
But I
I don't know
also
who.
think, but it's also, I think this is their whole thing on this record is take a personal thing and then work in the anger at the selling out in the record and everything, because the line is, who'd have thought I'd represent when I can't take a compliment? Overexposure is the key, and focus on me is appreciated. It should be, because that's definitely about, oh, the scene is blowing up and we're getting bigger and all that kind of stuff. But then there's also specifics about what I imagine as a girl or something.
Could be, yeah. Again, also becoming the voice of a scene. There are going to be bands every year from this point forward who are going to feel like they are the ones who have
Mm.
become the leaders of the scene, and whether they want it or not. Um, I mean, I think this one too. You really get how crafty just pop songwriters they are, because this
Yeah.
Yeah.
chorus is just. I mean, this is an away message if you're an AIM around this time, I'm sure, and someone screwed you over,
Yeah. You
and you
you
want them to
taught me how to
know.
play the fool. Yeah, well, that's him.
Yeah.
I want you to know. I want you to know that I know that you know
Mm-hmm.
that I know. If that makes any sense. Jeff, you've
Um,
never taught me how to play the fool though.
And
there's
trying
still
to.
time. There's still
Yeah,
time.
There's still time. We're early in our friendship.
Do you guys? I know this is more of the sonic and not as much of the video on the show. Do you talk about videos for the songs on
we
the
sure
show?
do. We sure
Okay.
do.
Yeah, we do.
Because I revisited this one last night and I had not watched in quite some time. And I don't there's I think he physically abuses a woman in it.
That's not great. Not great.
I mean,
I
it's
don't
obviously supposed to be in for comedy's sake, I suppose, but yeah.
Is
There,
this the one where he's singing into the phone that's like a microphone?
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Singing about so the setup is they are playing, rehearsing, whatever, in a tiny little apartment, all in the same room. at the top of their amplifiers, and there's a girl next door who's trying to study. It's the middle of the day, and she's upset by this, and she comes knocking on the door, and James Dewey, is it Dewey? How do you say it? Dewey?
Dewey.
Dewey.
Yeah.
He comes to the door and basically shoves her off, like, shut up, you're annoying. And he tells the bandmates, oh, it's the crazy girl from next door. She's trying to study. And then they just continue playing. And there's also a kind of a side plot of maybe the phone he's singing into is a girl who he's trying to impress or something, the blonde girl who's in a kind of a different setup. And then the nerd girl comes around to like, get in the window and tell him to stop, but then the drummer pushes her out. It's the whole thing.
No, it's a quite an experience going back and watching all these videos and being like, oof, oh, what are you thinking? Yeah, the emo boy getting his revenge against the girl who won't let him play his music.
That's right.
But it's funny though. But the thing I did remember was I always loved the old phone and the cord being the microphone as he's singing in. Also watching this video, if you have seen this band in the recent years, they look like children in this.
They sure do.
Those children. That's what I was going to say. They look like children in that video.
I would love to. I think this is the time for it since we're talking about visuals. I'd like to digress and talk about the look of the Get Up Kids, because for me that changed a lot of things. Because again, growing up where I was, like, I mean, people didn't even really have tattoos back then anyway, but like, having like a studded belt or like, a studded bracelet was like, whoa, this person's pretty hardcore or whatever. And then when I got to college, it was like, oh, I'm meeting actual like punks with mohawks and stuff. And when I saw the Get Up Kids, I was like, oh, they dress like me and look like me, and they're just dorks. So that was another reason I was like, oh yeah, these literally look like the people I hang out with. and even like James Dewey, I was like, he dresses in all black and he had like a spiky bracelet, but the other guys, they all look like dorks.
So. Yeah, I mean, I think it's right. It's like the aesthetic of this era really was the graphic tee. The jeans were getting tighter,
but not tight. But they were not tight yet. They were still.
No, they weren't wearing. Boys weren't wearing jeans for girls yet, but we are on that pathway. Like they're definitely getting slimmer, and it would be like a ringer tee or like a white t-shirt, but then it's like it made sense to me. Like I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of punk, because it's like you're not wearing designer clothes, you're not going to like Abercrombie and Fitch, like you're just like dressing
going to
like
the thrift store.
The thrift store, yeah.
Thrift store. Yeah, absolutely.
Like I remember going to the thrift store and like, what weird shirt can I find that will fit me? Like, and it would be like Davis Stampede 84 or something. You just like, what is this? I don't know, but I'm buying it for $1.25. And it's funny, but what's even funnier though is that we did all that, and then look what Old Navy did years later. It still continues to do nowadays. It's like the random graphic tee, throwback graphic tees. See, it has changed fashion altogether. Also, they all like have that. They don't know what their haircut is just yet. If it's like short, if it's like surfer guy, or if we're gonna go like buzz cuts. Like, what are we doing? No one knows. It's fine. It looks like the rest of us. We don't know what we're doing. Neither do they.
Yeah. like seeing them, like, 1 week you'd see them, and the next week it'd be like, oh, we're gonna see Rancid, and like that's a whole look, and like, or see No Effects, that's a whole look of like, wow, those guys are like, I remember even seeing Face to Face, and it was like, oh, he's got full sleeve tattoos, but they're on the same label as Get Up Kids, and those guys they just look like normal Midwestern dudes.
No, you're hitting on something which I think is part of why this genre blew up, because punk was like there was a feeling when you listen to punk, like, oh, I can't dress like that.
Yep.
My mom will get so mad at me if I pierce my nose and I wear a leather jacket with spikes on it. But suddenly you're hearing punk music and you're like, oh, they look like just average people I know. And this is coinciding also with, Blink-182 is just wearing like Pacific Sunwear clothes, like that you get at the mall. Like it was just becoming this thing where it's like, oh, it's all the stuff that we have access to without having to be like, oh, look at me, I'm trying to be punk. It was like almost more punk because they weren't trying that way, I guess.
I remember expecting the first time I saw Millennial Diner live, I had never seen any pictures of them, and I thought they were going to be fucking hardcore tough. And they were dressed like just skate nerds, like like Blink-182.
Yeah, it was that the skate scene, and then just kind of the nerd scene too. Just
Yeah,
like I don't want to, because that's the thing. You have a lot of nerdy kids became musicians in these bands,
yep,
and they're like, eventually the tattoos come in, and eventually
sure,
this like Dashboard shows up with sleeves singing heartfelt
right,
songs on acoustic guitar. Like it happens, and it all gets mixed together, and eventually we do get. I mean, obviously when My Chemical Romance starts to hit, we are being theatrical, so it does start to go in that direction eventually. But for a long time, it was you picked up the jeans and the t-shirt off your floor and you went out and played a show.
yeah. And I also
Yeah.
realized today when I was reading about the band members, I mean, I didn't think they were way older than me, but they are the same age as me, and I'm thinking like, man, when I saw them in college, we were the same age, and that whenever you see a band, it always feels like, oh, they got to be like much older than me or something,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not the case.
No, even the bands who I know are now 10 years younger than me, I'm like, oh, they're so old.
So true. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Uh, just the last thing on action. You mentioned Kevin at a time and place. For this song is the one that I specifically, being in some kind of disgruntled headspace, in that angsty teen headspace, and just driving around Long Island, this song blasting, and like, you know, this was the song for that for me.
I'd still do that now. If I went back to Long Island, I'd still play this one song. I'd just be like, "Screw you guys! I'm angry at you." When I was younger, I continue to be in my ripe old age.
Oh, I just throw on Vision of Disorder now when I'm on Long Island. That's the
Ooh, I love
rage. Yeah.
that. Let's go there. Yeah.
Long Island's own VOD. Let's play Action in Action. This album, I think, really comes out strong out of the gate with some bangers, but much to young Phil's chagrin, those loving robots are
Chagrin.
about to tug on his heartstrings. With track 3, Valentine.
Oh yeah.
You would think I'd hate this song, but it's the
No,
opposite.
no,
I love
I
this
know
song.
you're a softie underneath your gruff exterior.
I really am. I really am. I'm a big soft. Actually, so much so that even my wife even makes fun of me for it. Because she'd be like, I could be the angriest, meanest guy in the entire world, but then like a kid walks by, and I'm like, oh, what's going on, buddy? How's it going? Well, immediately become a. So what happens? And I've got 2 kids. Leave me alone.
Uh, Very sweet, soft song. We're slowing it down. I mean, it builds to just this "Will you be my Valentine?" Like it's just
So cheesy, but
it
it wasn't. It wasn't.
but it works. It works.
Works.
You're in it. Yeah, I love this song. It's that's the line. The constants aren't so constant anymore. I mean, it's so
That is,
simple. It's so
it's so simple,
simple.
but so good and
Yeah.
so direct and so like dreamy, but like it's like, yeah, be my Valentine, but you have to understand, like we're also getting older and kind of growing apart a little bit, and how
Hmm.
constants aren't a constant anymore, And I think that's probably why this album hits me with me so hard, because it like, yeah, what were we, like 19, 20 ish when this came out,
Mhm.
and it was like you're starting to become an adult. And like I feel like this is like a song that's like about adult romance. Like sometimes you're not gonna be in the same town for Valentine's Day. I don't know. It is a dreamy, sweet. It's like one of those I want it to be sarcastic songs, but deep down I know it's not.
And it's a I feel like it's a very much a tour song. Like he's on tour, she's back there, their time zones
Yeah.
apart, you know. And it has one of my favorite things of when bands do this, which I think is very much an emo punk band thing of referencing other bands in the song. The first line is "Words You Forget" to "Anniversary," song's "The Anniversary," and
Yeah.
I love this one. And then the other one is when Alkaline Trio references U.S. Maple in whatever song that is. But yeah, this is one of the great ones.
No, yeah, we just did an episode recently on the Something Corporate album where they start with like the Scent of Sex and Newfound Glory, and you're just like, I know
Yep.
what they're talking
Yep.
about.
Yeah, I get it. I get that reference. Yeah.
But Anniversary, another classic Vagrant band, would often tour with them, and very different sounding band than a lot of the other bands in the scene. They were really, really cool band. You don't hear much about them anymore. I wonder when they'll do their big anniversary tour.
You really don't hear about them anymore. And I think Kevin, I think it's Goodbye Forever is the one that
Is
is
Al
up
Country with the U.S. Maple reference?
I
Yeah,
feel like it's Goodbye Forever.
yeah, I think
That
that's
was
right.
immediately where my mind went.
Yeah,
I also just learned that today. So I learned something new about Alkaline Trio song on a Get Up Kids podcast. Look at that.
there you go. Well, in that same song, they reference the Fireside Bowl, a great Chicago
Yeah.
punk venue. Yeah.
I'm often scouring YouTube for late 90s, early 2000 videos from the Fireside Bowl.
Yeah.
That's what I do in my free time.
One of my badges of honor, I have two of them from that, is I played Fireside Bowl when I lived in Chicago, and then also played CBGB's before it closed.
Good for you. I'm
Yeah.
happy to hear that. That's sick.
Really? Good. That is pretty sick. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I saw Alkaline Trio at CBGB's shortly
Did
before
you?
it closed. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very happy I got to do that because I've been there recently, and it's a designer T-shirt store. So,
Oh, the worst. So sad.
That's depressing.
Yeah, that's
Moving
right.
on. Moving on. Yeah.
Phil, do you want to play this song?
Sure. Let's play this.
Here is Valentine. Well, you know, getting a chance to do a podcast on something to write home about is a red letter day for me.
Nice.
Oh, do you know what a red letter day is?
I don't know, Phil. Why didn't you tell us?
Is a day of special significance or opportunity. Hence why they call it a red letter day. Actually, it even goes so far back that in medieval manuscripts, important words or names would have the big R or like red letter for the first letter of it or the word itself. That's why if you look at calendars right now, generally speaking, the big important days have red letters on it. They are red letter days. Could be a positive or a negative. In this case, negative or positive. Depends how you look at this one.
I don't know. There's some venom being spit in this one.
Yeah. Yes, there is.
They are not shying away from saying how they feel. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Yeah, this song's about their adventures with Doghouse. And with I didn't know the dude's name in Doghouse, but Dirk is the dude's name. All from the first album.
I didn't know any of this feud stuff or any of that with Doghouse until literally today when I was reading Wikipedia. So for me, this song up until today, and it still does because whenever I grew up with it, but to me, this is like a breakup song completely.
Yeah.
It has nothing,
yeah.
but now I know the truth. So yeah.
Well, it's funny because you can read it as a breakup song, but
Yeah,
then
definitely.
you totally can, which I think is always great. And there's some other bands who I don't like naming anymore who would do really well at making a song sound like a breakup song, but really it was about the music industry. And then this is the same kind of vibe. It's a breakup song, but it's definitely a breakup of a record company or really just how you saw some person, you know, because the lines like we're loyal like brothers, just us versus all the others, like you're in it together, right?
Dude,
and then you're not, but that it's such a good line. Good.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was going to bring that up because my idea of this song, of it being a breakup song, all these 25 years I've been listening to the song and loving it.
Yeah.
That line, that's the one that throws me of like, this is totally a breakup song. And then he says, we're like brothers. Just, I'm like, wait, are all of you dating the girl? Like what? Or did you all date at one point? That's always thrown me for a loop. And then when I finally read that shit today about Doghouse, it's like, oh, it's them against the record label, not against a girl. So now I finally have peace about that line in this song of knowledge.
Well, you know,
Jeff?
it's funny. Like I think I always just assumed every emo song in this time was about a breakup, but I do think that also the other. I didn't know the record label either, but I also would think about like I wonder if this is a song about a former band member. It has that kind of feel to it too, where you're getting screwed over because that happens so many times as well, and you have a lot of songs like that. But also another band it reminds me of is Midtown's Living Well is the Best Revenge.
Yeah.
Also about their breakup with Drive Thru, I believe.
Yep.
If I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. So again, Get Up Kids coming up here and setting the standard for a lot of thematics that will show up in many, many albums to follow. from many
Yep.
bands. You're just a phase I've gotten over anyhow. Ugh.
So
Ugh.
good. So good.
And then later on, like the real telling line is the I trusted misleading promises worth repeating. I mean, it's
Mhm.
being fed lines constantly, and then what you there's a song about being sick of somebody, of just, and you can use this really analogous for anything, really. That just
Yeah.
some person who's just taking advantage of you, and you're like, you know what, I'm done. It is my red letter day. It is the day of special significance or opportunity when I have learned, well, one, who you are as a person, two, what this music industry really could be like. Because
Yeah.
like think of it, like you're a young band, kids, because even they're like early 20s as kids. You guys are kids.
Kids who get up,
You
by
get
the way.
the kids who get up. That's right. Great, great band name. I've always wanted to talk about the great band name, just in general. Get up kids. Like, what are you, they're like? Well, that sounds very positive. Like, these are the kids that they get up and go.
Mhm.
But so imagine like you get onto a record company and then you think it's gonna be amazing, and then you have a horrible experience. It's like being on or for half the bands who were on Victory. That's from what
Hmm.
I understand. It was like that was a tough record label to be on. I don't know.
Well, one day we'll hear a story from a Victory band who said they liked the experience.
I think this song also, I mean, like I said earlier, like Holiday, you hear the keys, but this one has that woo, 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 where the key, and
Hmm.
it's simple, but it's real high in the mix, which I love. But we're on, what is this? Sorry, we're on track 4 now, right?
Yep.
Four.
And I mean, even Valentine, we've got Valentine, like there's the underlying sort of keys there too, but this one really gives it that, like, oh, okay, every song is going to have keyboard. Awesome. Let's hear it. Yeah.
I also I love to point out just again Matt's singing performance because it he's able to kick it into this other gear, especially he builds to it. So this one also again a song where he's singing about being slighted, and
Mhm.
it literally ends with him just like pouring it out with the "How could you do this to me? How could you do this? How could you do this to me?" Like it, he does such a great job of coming at a high level, but then like just tweaking it enough that it feels a little more desperate, a little more anguished. Uh,
Yeah. I read a little something that said he wishes these days that they had recorded everything at least half step or full step down, because this whole record he is up there,
yeah,
and these days no one's any younger, and it's hard to get there.
yeah, I know that because I've been in the crowd trying to hit that too, and
Yeah.
not working.
Yeah.
It's like listening to Jordan in Newfound Glory. It's just like, yeah, we just can't get that high
Can't
in the
get it.
notes anymore.
Yeah,
Yep.
those notes are out of reach.
Right. Ah,
Oh,
you're
oh,
nailing
it's
it.
almost like
You're
we
nailing
almost
it.
set that up. That was the
Oh,
most beautiful setup ever. Like it was
incredible.
though we had that set
Incredible.
up.
Incredible.
Folks at home, we didn't have that
Incredible.
set up. That's Jeff's brilliance on display.
Off
Recognize
the
it.
cuff. Off the cuff.
Yes. Well, track 5, out of reach. Um,
Can we slow it down for a minute now? Like really slow it down and just do an acoustic ballad that was amazeballs to hear the first time I heard it. And I
Yep.
was like, what is going on right here? Such a good song. Such a
Yep.
good song.
it's got that twinkly feel again. It's
Yep.
just I also want to say there will ever since the advent of Instagram and me seeing the Get Up Kids during the age of Instagram, will I ever not take a picture of Get Up Kids playing and have the caption, "I got pictures to prove I was there, but you don't care"?
Well, it's funny because like that's a thing for a longest time. It was like pics or prove it with pics. Like show me, let me see the receipts that you actually went to this place. And it like that was such a thing for a bit. I'm like, yep, I got the picture. First off, I love the Dover peaks because the just
Yeah.
immediately you're like, oh, I'm in. Okay, because like you're always gonna take a picture of the cliffs of Dover, which what I assume it was, but maybe I could be wrong, and that's okay. I could be wrong. But like yeah, the pictures I was prove I was there. I mean, just see, he even went. I went to Europe and came back,
Mhm.
and I have pictures to show you that I did. That's why I haven't seen you since the last holiday.
Mhm.
I was out touring Europe. That's what I was doing.
And this is direct line to Valentine because it's, it's again, I'm out on tour and, still thinking about you. I mean, one of my favorite lines in any song, any lyric is I've smuggled myself into new nationalities. Love
Mhm.
that.
Love it.
So good. This one, we had a slower summer Valentine, which is like it was a love song. It was like a longing song. This is the first one where I'm like, oh, this is such a sad. This is depression.
Yeah.
This is a struggling person, the narrator of this song, and you feel it. And they use this slowing down. They use the acoustic, and then slowly first, and then the keyboards come in, and it's just I don't know. It's a mood. It's not
Well,
a happy mood.
well, it's also it's a swing. It's a 3/4. It's not 4/4. So it's like it's got the like the danciness to it that feels like you're kind of moving with it.
Yeah, it's a
So,
sway. It's a
and one thing,
swayer. It's a swayer.
Layer. Yeah.
it's a swear, and like Jeff, you put on the sadness in it. I think the really shines in the chorus. Where you say there's room to believe, but we're out of sight, you're out of mind, and out of reach. And I think this is the saddest part of the song is start over is no way to begin.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is so sad to hear because it's not because it's really you're not beginning. It's a continuate, it's a continuation, really. You're not starting over, you're not making any changes, not doing anything better. We're just gonna start over fresh. But like, no, we don't need to do that. We need to actually change
Mhm.
and like not be so out of sight and so out of mind. I mean, that is so sad to hear a 20-year-old kid sing this way. I mean, about such impassion. I love every second of it.
I also
Yeah,
think this
I
one,
go for it.
especially the intro, is a real sort of like prelude to that. When I was talking about the acoustic punk stuff, like this feels like, oh,
Mhm.
this is where they got the ideas. Like let's just, and even when the band does come in on this, it's still not, they're not blasting. They're still
Yeah.
keeping it small. But it feels very like, oh, this is what Chuck Reagan was listening to when he wanted to go acoustic or whatever.
See, this is what I mean. But Kevin, you were right. Well, like we're saying that, or and I think Jeff said, and we have all kind of said it now. This album has such significance
Mm-hmm.
because I really do think it's like one of those. This well, Get Up Kids always for me has been one of those bands. They never get the credit that they ought. I don't think they get the credit they should. But like this particular album, like you can see where all these other bands are like, oh, I like what they did there. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
run with that, and then like
Yep.
off they go with it.
Yep.
What do you think it's about? I always thought this is like a post breakup song. Like it's at least that's how it feels to me. It feels like, oh, it's really over and I have to start over. Maybe that's the line that's kind of ringing in my head, but it just feels like so when I go back to like long way from home, lost by an echo I've never known, it just feels like it's someone who's aware that it's gone. It's in the past. And even the pictures prove I was there. Like, is that the pictures of the two lovers together at one point, and it doesn't matter anymore? I don't know.
I
I
think
thought it.
it's I think it's him hoping that like, girl he's had back home who he's probably been able to like go on tour and be like, hey, you'll be waiting here when I get back, is probably like, I'm done with that dude. And he's like, hey, I got pictures. He's like, and she says, you don't care. Like she's like, yeah, I don't care. Like you keep leaving and going, and this is not consistent. So go fuck yourself.
It's sort of the other side of the story for Holiday, isn't
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
it?
Oh, so insightful. Let's play this song.
Yes.
And we're back. Do either of you guys know how far from downtown we are?
Um, I think we're about 10 minutes away. About 10
About
minutes
10
away from
minutes.
downtown.
About 10
About
minutes.
10 minutes.
About
Uh,
10.
wow, this song.
Oh.
You're coming off out of reach. You're sad. And then not only that, this is where I believe this is where Jim takes over
Yeah.
lead
Oh
vocals,
yeah. Yep.
which
Mhm.
it's funny, like I feel like Matt is the majority of it, but then like Jim does this one and he does Campfire Kansas on a wire, and
Right.
like it's like these songs are so good, and he only jumps in every so often and does it. But
Dude, I always think about that. I'm like, because you got Alkaline Trio and you got Skiba and Andrew, like, they kind of pretty even. Steven, Taking Back Sunday, they're back and forth. I always wanted more Jim. I always want more Jim, and there's only the two that I guess maybe there's more. Maybe it's just the two, but yeah,
Those are the two that stand out, and the two they still play at shows. But even Jimmy Eat World, I'm always like, you listen to Clarity and Static
Clarity.
Prevails, you got a couple of songs that Jim doesn't sing, and
right.
I'm blanking on the other guy's name. And I feel horrible about it, but uh, you know, send your angry Jimmy World letters to Phil. He'll take them in New Hampshire. But then all of a sudden, once Bleed American happens, he never sings again. It feels like I haven't
Never,
listened.
never.
Yeah,
Never.
right. That's so
Nope.
interesting,
Yeah.
especially at that time when you're right. Like all these bands started really
Well,
relying.
but also this was the hit. This was what was on the samplers. This is why I started listening to Get Up Kids. Period.
Yeah,
This was on that Vagrant sampler, and it was such an awesome song. It didn't sound like Face to Face. It didn't sound like Alkaline Tree, whatever was also on that sampler. And I was like, what is this? This is so cool. It's so poppy, but it's got such emotion to it. And there's like, the bridge is so distinct and different from the rest of it. And it's just so fucking driving. I mean,
yes.
and yeah, and I feel like let's have a few more from you, Jim, of this ilk.
This one live is just
Oh yeah.
this is why you go to the show. Because when
Yeah.
this rips out, it rips. It just rips. Can I
Yeah.
say that it rips? Is that a technical term?
Yeah,
I think
rips.
once or twice. Yeah. I just feel like I can relate to the. I feel like there's such anguish in the song because I'm like you. I feel like you're stuck like in traffic and you're like I'm almost there. I'm
Yeah.
almost there. And like I feel like because he even says like you fall on a level, I'm falling apart, and he's like I'm falling apart. First off, again, amazing line, just amazing line. But like I'm falling apart while I'm in this traffic waiting to get through the next 10 minutes to get there, and like everything is going wrong, nothing's going right. Like who hasn't had that day where you're just like, I just need to be home, or I need to be
Mhm.
downtown, I need to be somewhere. No, that's not here. Yeah.
Well, it's sincere and desperate. There's pleas, right? Like you get into the like maybe things are going to get better, and then Matt comes in. Maybe things are getting better.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe things aren't so bad. Don't be gone when I get home. You're all I have. Like,
Yep.
goddamn.
Like just be there when I get home. Please just be
Yeah.
there when I get home. Let me get through this rush hour traffic or whatever it is. There's construction. Just let me just get home.
I go back to like the performance of the vocals again. Jim, why aren't you doing more of these?
Yeah.
When you get to the pockets empty, how can you tell me everything will work out? Like again, it goes up a notch for me, and I'm just like, ah.
Hmm. And there's also a little taste again of the like leaving you for like the bridge when he says, "I've been home all summer. Now I'm leaving you alone." That I feel like, oh, we're back on tour. We're leaving
Mhm.
again. Like same theme as those other breakup songs or heart wrenchers.
Yeah, I mean, if you learn anything here, it's hard to be in a touring band and date
Yeah.
the love of your life. Apparently,
Right. Apparently. Yep.
we learned. Yeah, and but I mean, it kind of like the final rendition of the chorus too. Also, again, it just it's so much even more emotional, and a pointless fight. You're always right. Everything will work out. It's like just trying to convince himself everything will work out. Everything will work out. I don't think things are gonna work out.
And it's also got, I love it at the end. There's that everything will work. Woo! He has the little
Oh
woo.
yeah,
Yeah,
gotta have
which
a
like,
woo.
even though it is this heart wrenching subject matter, it's such a fucking fun sounding song.
Yeah, I mean, you could, but that's, and and this is where like the emo punk, pop punk works the best. It's like these are feelings that everyone's feeling at some point. This like intense desperation that this has to work. Oh, please let this work. But to the woo and the jumping up and down because it's like a party.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome.
Phil, do you have 10 minutes to spare so we can listen to 10 minutes? It's not a 10-minute song. I don't know why I said that.
Well, good, because you know my opinion on long songs. So luckily it's only like a 3-minute song, so we'll go ahead.
All right, well, here's a 3-minute song called 10 Minutes. After that banger, it's time to spend the company dime with the company dime is the next track 7.
Track 7 company time. Jeff, to answer my question, 3 minutes, 12 seconds.
Oh,
That's pretty close.
so a
Quick.
little closer to 10 minutes than you thought.
Slightly, yeah. I
Yeah.
12 whole seconds more. Yeah. Enough about that. Let's talk about 10 Speaking of 10, the Company Dime. Another record. I think it's a record industry song.
I think so.
Yeah, I always thought it was
But
something
like
that because it's the business, right? That's the business
the
of the
Mhm.
right,
music.
but the business of the music, and then specifically about having there's always that one really good musician in the band, which Kevin, I'm always going to assume was you. And the rest, maybe the rest of the band members were like, we're up to snuff, because he talks about the one good player on the team, and I've always thought was like, oh, this is where like someone gets kind of singled out in a band because they're like the good one. I don't know.
I mean, he literally says, "You only learn by not believing that the industry is unforgiving."
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I got a little bit of a hot take, guys.
Let's
Go
hear
ahead. Let me hear
I don't love this song.
it. Well,
It's
well,
it's my it's my least favorite on the record. I'll say that. I shouldn't say I don't love it. I think it's my least favorite of the record.
well, Kevin, I have a feeling there'll be some questions later that you'll be able to dive into this
dive
very
into it,
Okay.
and
topic.
we perhaps could explain a bit more about why that may well be.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
but it's funny because I will actually say that I think both track 7 and track 8, Company Dime and My Apology, it's almost like the formula that the band has been using on all the other songs kind of gets off on these two songs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, you shouldn't do the same thing over and over again. I shouldn't be like fast punk song, twinkly sad song, fast punk song, twinkly. Like you could do that. So I appreciate that at this point they are kind of like trying different things. I hate to use the word filler. Everyone ever wants to hear the word filler. Um,
No.
but it is interesting that it's there. But like also it feels like because it is about it's one of these songs about the process of being in a band, which
Yeah.
is not necessarily to me the interesting part of that. Like it feels a little more technical in like the actual like how are we going to do this as
Right.
opposed
Right.
to the emotions that might happen if like a band member pisses you off or has an ego problem or something like that. Like that stuff you can mine for emotion. This one doesn't feel like it quite goes there.
I think that I don't think this album is a concept album per se, but I do think the inclusion of the Company Dime and My Apology are maybe when they were doing this, they were getting a little heady and thinking like, oh, we kind of have a through line here, and these
Mm-hmm.
make it all kind of fit together. If you were to say like, just give me a fucking rip roaring record with the lose those two and make it a 10 song record, Company Dime and Apology Go. I think it loses some of the theme that they're trying to
Yeah.
build here, and again, the
Yeah.
concept, even though it's not really a concept record. Um, so I think that's what the inclusion is here. And I totally like. I mean, we said that earlier. Like you said, it's not quite doing what the other songs of this ilk are doing.
Well, the chorus especially, I feel like the chorus kind of slows down, which is an
Mhm.
interesting. This is like aside from some of the slower songs, it's like I'm still waiting for you to
Mhm.
get over. It just kind of like the pacing feels different.
Yeah.
And also like I've always struggled to understand like what the getting over it is. Is it the getting over it that they lost, they got kicked off a label? Is it like we got to, something went wrong with the label? Like, we know that story now. It's kind of like a key to all this.
Mhm.
But even like the replace, retrack, I don't think I ever really thought too hard about this song. And now I'm like, oh, they're just redoing the songs.
Dude,
Right. The retrack in the song. I mean,
retrack
it's
in the
like
song, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think, oh, it's actually much more on the nose than you think. And I'm like, I guess, and I think this like, what are we waiting for to get over? To like, we've changed the sound a little bit, or retracking the song, or maybe maybe like get over the scene. Like, this isn't the real scene. We're gonna retrack this scene. I don't know. I mean, it's not the brightest star in the sky on this album.
And I just like
That's
to say that,
fine.
yeah,
That's fine.
I just like to say to the other kids from all of us, it's my apology that we are not in love with that song. Because the next track,
Yeah.
See, it's just one banger after the next with Jeff over
I've
here.
been
He's
waiting
like on
It's
fire.
25 years.
it's really incredible. It's really
Been waiting
incredible.
almost 25 years to make these segues. Is just what's happened here.
It's a real
I,
superpower.
it,
Um,
it's always astonishes me. Also, what does not astonish me is when we continue to do math. I don't like math. Let's not do that anymore.
Sorry,
25
sorry,
years. God,
sorry.
oh, it's so far away. 25 years. Um,
Silver anniversary for this album this year. Silver
there you go.
anniversary.
Is
Wow.
that right? 25 years is the silver
I don't
anniversary.
know
All
if
right.
that's right. I feel like it might be.
Well, I, as you were, I will look this up as you were.
My apology again. We kind of talked about it earlier. Again, it continues. This one too also just feels like I don't know. Like again, I'm not a musician, so I don't know for sure. But it just seems like something about it is a little clunkier. Like it's
Yeah.
not as pop hooky smooth.
It feels like the also ran to Valentine. Like it feels like the less talented younger brother.
No, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
That is a good way of putting it. Yes, Jeff, it is silver, is the 25th anniversary. And Kevin, I never really thought about it in terms of that, but you're right. It is. It's like the little brother to Valentine. Although there's some fantastical line in here with my pens paint people that I've proven wrong. First off, hello for the alliteration. I'm always a fan of
Mhm.
that. But like, there's such a bratty cattiness to that line. That's one I'm here for. If folks at home know, watch, listen to the show. I like pettiness apparently in songs. Um, but like that is I don't know. It's just the words I read and rewrite, or sometimes I can think to recite the words I read and rewrite. My pens paint people that proven wrong. Just as a guy who constantly was like, yeah, I know what's gonna happen to you, buddy, and then it happens, and I'm like, yeah, see, this is what I mean. I knew what was gonna happen.
Mhm.
I proved you wrong. Hello.
This one, I think that's 100% true, and I love those lines. And that's the thing. Like that's why I do. Again, some the lyrics are just something I want to remember. I want to throw them on in my instant messenger. And back in the day, this is especially to defend myself or anybody who's a writer. Like this is the
Mm.
song where it's like, look, I'm apologizing, but I'm gonna write about the people in my life. And if you've screwed me over, like some of the other people in the other songs did, I'm gonna write that song about you. So
Mhm.
just be warned. You know what I do for a living.
You know how sharp this pen can be.
Exactly.
It goes back to Holiday, where like, bro, we joked around about it. Like, don't make some dude in a pop punk emo band mad because he'll just write a song about you. And like, well, here you go. Here's reason enough to show you.
It does have one little piece here that I do enjoy as it's a sign of, I guess, there's some sense of humor. But when he says, "I would be content to hum along," and then he's hum, and he just do the hum. Yeah, I like that part of it. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, no. This feels like a track 8 on an album. I give it that.
Yeah, it
The
does.
real sin of this song though is it's keeping you from getting to the next song.
Oh, please,
That's
let's go.
yes, yes, that is the real sin.
Track 9, I'm a loner Dottie, a rebel.
Yes, total
From a
banger.
from a film, I believe. It was a line from a
Yeah,
film that some people have
Yeah,
seen in the world. A Tim Burton movie, I believe.
yep,
it was his directorial debut was
Yes.
this as a feature length. Yep.
yep.
Yes, this is
Uh,
Incredible.
Pee-wee's Big
what
Adventure.
there we
Hmm.
go.
Yep.
Yep.
Jeff, how bad did you want Pee Wee's house like in that
Uh,
movie? Like, how bad did you want that? I wanted that house so bad, so bad.
That movie troubles me. There are multiple scenes in that movie I saw too young that to this day, of course, Large Marge is
Large Marge, she's coming to get
Large
you.
Mar
that
to Large Marge said, "Oh my God, it's just."
Hmm.
and him saving all the snakes from the burning pet house. Like I don't know why, but that just
The weird Dutch angle on the clown that he chained
oh
it.
yeah, yeah. It's it's fantastic, but I saw it way too
Or
young
like,
and yeah.
what was it? The one thing where like they're like gonna melt his bike. Like he's in like hell where those weird hell clowns are, and
Yeah,
like it doesn't the devil just it's just like meowing at him as he's like trying to like there's like flames are bursting around him. He's like meow, and it's like
yep.
what the fuck is happening in this movie? I am all in on it though. It's
The
so weird. I love it. Well, and it's got Twist's sister in it, which is always welcomed.
yes, the weird pool fight with Francis. Francis just
Oh
the
my God,
indoor
Francis,
pool.
Francis.
Francis.
Little known fact, I used to work with D. Snyder's son at the comic book
Oh,
store way
all
back
right.
when.
Very cool.
Dee would call the store every now and again, but never said who it was. He would just say, "Hi, it's Jesse's father. Is he there?" And I would like, "Yes, it is." And then I would
Yes.
hold the phone and then giggle, be like, "It's Dee Snyder. Hang on." Yeah, that was always fun.
Awesome.
Always fun.
That's awesome.
Always polite. Very nice on the phone. Always was.
That's great.
Now
I'm a
this song,
loner, Dot. Yeah, I'm a loner, Dottie. A rebel.
Rebel.
this song is interesting. It's in the sequencing. It's pretty deep in the album,
Very
and
deep.
and it's a classic of Get Up Kids. Like this is like a must play live forever.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, again, it's. I mean, this is the one night stand song, right? This is the.
Right.
The theme that
Yeah.
permeates the record, and this is, I mean, this song's so fucking good. This, I mean, 10 minutes I love, and it's a great, it's gets you right into that. But this one, once you've listened to the record a few times through, you're like, all right, 10 minutes is awesome for sure, but this one is really doing everything right.
It's the most. But what's really funny though is out of all the lyrics, it's the most on the nose.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like it's
totally
literally
on
just
the nose.
it's just literally like, sorry, person we met. It was a one
Mhm.
thing.
Yep.
It was a summertime one night romance, and I'm out. See ya. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know if we should be applauding this as a,
Well,
you know what I mean?
the narrator is being honest. I mean, it
That's
literally
true.
starts off
That
say,
is true.
"Come tomorrow, I'll be on my way back home." Like there's no mixed signals here. So
Mhm.
isn't that something that's integrity? I would think.
I would, from that perspective, yes, that's actually that is a very upfront attitude. Okay, well, that's cool. Let's do that.
I
Yep.
mean,
But
that's
just, but
just yeah. One night
It
stand
also
doesn't mean the rest of my life, you know.
no.
they also they do, I think, on most of the other songs, it is two verses before a chorus, and
Mhm.
this is just one verse and then right into the chorus,
Mm.
and then two verses and then a chorus out. So it's a little bit of and not really a bridge per se. So different. It just fucking gets in and gets out.
Yeah, and that
Well,
first verse is quick. It's not a.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sets a stage of what this is going to be, you know.
Right.
I just love the fact that of all the lines from movies, he goes with this one, and like it just goes to show you how much of a badass line that line really is. I'm a lone Johnny rebel. I mean,
Where do
God,
you
and it,
where do you guys where do you guys put Get Up Kids in the emo pantheon of these kind of titles that are
ridiculous
not lyric?
titles? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not lyric. It's not a lyric in the song. It's something, and it's also it's a long title. I'm a Loner Donnie Rebel. I think they don't get enough credit for being in that. I think Taking Back Sunday doesn't do it without them doing it first.
No, I think you're right. I think Get Up Kids probably this is probably one of the earliest times we're gonna see the ridiculous title in there, but it fits. Like this is a
Yep.
ridiculous title, but it fits the song, right?
Yeah.
Because he's like, look, I'm a loner, Dottie. Like we are not gonna be together. And then
Right.
other times they get like these weird titles where like I don't eat bologna sandwiches on Tuesdays. And it's like this death metal song. Like nothing makes
Yeah.
it just doesn't make any sense. There's no connection. I don't see what the connection is.
Well, you
This
guys,
one at
No.
least I can.
yeah, it's fresh in my mind because I listened to it today. But in Taking Back Sunday with Timberwolves at New Jersey, you guys even said like, "What? That's not even their teams. That's not even where they're from."
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, very much will be. This is a Fall Out Boy thing for sure. I mean, they
Oh yeah.
that Nick just made my list of things to do today. Like from Rushmore is one of their songs. Like they're definitely continuing that
Right.
tradition as we get
Yeah.
further along. But yeah, yeah, he's. I mean, this is someone just being like, listen. I mean, I'm sure he's smoking a cigarette and he just flicks it and he's like to this, if the character is in a band, let's say, and they're on a
Yep.
stop in Tacoma, Washington, in a small club, and they're just like,
Oh,
I don't
good
know.
choice of town. I like that choice of town. That's good.
Washington has all the best names for towns. Walla Walla.
Yeah. The
Uh,
the aroma of Tacoma.
oh, there it is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's gotta be a bumper sticker. Okay.
Yeah, it's prevalent up there.
Kevin, I'll ask you as a certified brilliant musician, uh, are the guitar riffs more aggressive in this song than any other song? That was my feeling.
Absolutely,
Okay, good.
absolutely, yeah. And also, I was going to bring this up. This has that real it's called like the square like sound of a keyboard, the like in this,
Yeah,
that very prevalent. Yeah.
Jeff, can we play this song? Is that okay with you?
you always were a loner and a rebel, Phil. So sure. All right, we come into track 10. It's called Long Good Night. Long Good Night.
I think that this begins outside. So Loner Died Rebel, banger, but then Long Good Night, and then the following two are the perfect lead outs. I
Yeah.
think of I don't want to say any record, but it's up there. It's up there. These three, I always like lodge these three together. The closing three tracks.
No, it's interesting because talking about the sequencing, like it makes sense that uh Rebel is the last like and probably the heaviest of songs because we're about to go on a journey of these as you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
and we are going to, I mean, leaning into the emo here for sure for the
Yep.
rest of this album.
And these final three tracks, like we've had similarly through the rest, it is all, leaving you. Can I keep you if I'm leaving you? Can you still love me if I'm gone? And, I mean, Loner Dottie Rebel does that too, but these three, I think, are a little trilogy of that.
Well,
Yeah,
Dottie does it in like a funny way, right?
Right.
Now we're like we're gonna do the serious way now,
Yeah.
which
Now,
is
now we're
like
going to put our
this.
heart on the line.
Well, because again, this is like you're talking about young people, young adults who, um, I mean, in Dan and the oh crap, what's the name of that book, Jeff? The emo
Sell
book.
Out.
No, the other one, which is
Everybody
the
hurts.
Where are your
um
boys? Where are your boys tonight?
yes, so like that where you got the Where Are You Boys Tonight, where you read about sections of all these bands who came from the middle America and all of a sudden they're going off into Europe, they're touring the country and they're taking not taken away in like a horrible sense, but like they're leaving their families and friends behind. And like I've always had this kind of romantic thought in my head that this is written to like the high school sweetheart, that they're this is where I'm going. I'm going on tour. I'm going all across the country. I'm doing all these things. And like, we're not gonna see each other. I mean, it's like this is the long good night. I mean, it's just there's such a sad romanticism to these last three songs.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think this one to me, I've said, I've had this feeling before. Maybe it's just how I saw every song at the time when I was listening to this originally, so it got stuck in my head. But I think you're right that this is a goodbye to someone. I think they both know this is ending, that they're not going to
Mm.
survive this. Uh, and I think that comes across just because even like sing a long good night, like you want a long good night because you don't know if there's going to be another one once the tour is over or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on tight, hang on every word. It just that kind of feeling keeps coming back. I will also say he says it twice, but the I'm not bitter anyway, and I'm like, the lady doth protest too much.
Yeah. It might be only twice, but I'm like, I don't believe you either time. Yeah, you're very bitter about it. Jeff, I think you go up one more line, and you have even more. That whole last stanza is like the saddest part of it.
Hmm.
It comes with no reply, and the fact is, I hold on too tight. I hang on every word. He's like waiting patiently for something, right? It harkens back to the something to believe. It's just there's you think you're right, Jeff. This is the slow realization that two people are just not going to be together anymore.
Yeah. This one has one of my personal favorite of my mishearing of lyrics. Uh, for a
Oh,
very
I
long,
love these. I
yeah,
love these. Let me hear this.
I
Yeah.
love a good mishearing. It's not, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a total mishearing. It's not that far up, but in the bridge, the back to the good old times, the line is before it won. I've for a long time, it was 4 in 1. Like, look at this tool. Look at this tool. It's 4 in 1. And it never made sense to me, and now it kind of makes a little more sense, I guess.
Love it. Um, yeah, and it's it's getting softer here. We're bringing the album into a landing. I would just I feel like the narrator wouldn't have this relationship problem if he or she just stayed close to home.
You did it.
If
You did
only,
it again.
if only,
You did
it
it
got
again.
to do it again.
God,
If only they stay close to home. I mean, it would just make this so much better. It picks
God,
up, so the tempo picks up a little bit,
Yep. Yep.
on the second to last song, Jeff, or otherwise known as the,
Ultimate.
Penultimate.
there we go, the penultimate song. Where do we, it's funny how a lot of songs I think are about the record industry, but then they get hidden in a relationship. I actually feel like this is a song about the record industry.
Hmm.
Where they see other bands making the same mistakes they did, and like there's like a second album
Yep.
for them now, and they're kind of like slightly more seasoned, and just I always feel like parts of this is the and the summer swallow this whole is getting lost in all those festivals and all that, because this is the
Hmm.
start where festivals become a thing like all the time. There's always something in the summertime,
Yep.
and I always felt like there was just this like weird big brotheriness to this song, talking to other bands who are just coming up.
I agree 100%. I mean, the line of everything that we found says make your own destiny is totally career related, industry related. Uh, and then all the ending. Maybe we had it all figured out absolutely wrong. But sort of saying we had it all along. All that stuff, I think is music biz related for sure. I agree with you.
I mean, even the line, there's no shame like no sound from sources. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, I agree. I think, I always took it kind of also for me, the close to home was like the like kind of an ironic title where it's like you gotta
Hmm.
not be close to home. You gotta go out there and do it. You gotta go out there and grab it and go for it. I think that's also kind of yeah,
Well,
I
it's
get that feeling
safety,
too.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like their safety being close to home. Like that's why most car accidents happen within 3 miles of your house, because that's where you feel the most safe. Well, there you go. I actually think that's a legitimate percentage, which I don't even think I gave a percentage. But yeah, because even said when he said you're unaware that you should be scared, maybe you'll learn from mistakes that we make. Not waiting for forever is the other thing. It's like go for it, right? But like, but you're gonna be scared, and that's okay because you should be scared. It's scary to get out there
Hmm.
to put yourself out there and try.
I also think that it feels like it's like kind of the only thing I would even put close to like their anthem on the album because it is kind of
Hmm.
this is them
Interesting.
like putting together what you guys were saying like this is the call to arms basically of what you need to
Yeah.
do and you want to have two loving robots on your album on Vagrant Records, you got to get out there and
And
seize it.
it seize the day and put weird, funny looking robots on the front of your album. I mean, that takes brass tacks. That's
I'm
not a lie.
I'm gonna nerd hard right now, you guys. Prepare for this. Ready?
Yes.
So
Yes.
these I've been talking about these final three songs on the record of kind of being the nice little trilogy to end it. Here we go. So I kind of I kind of map these three songs a little bit over the ending of the final Lord of the Rings film, Return of the King,
I I don't
where
know why. I don't know why. I
it,
knew it was Lord of the Rings. I knew it.
I was going there. So the
I just knew it. I was even going to say it audibly, be like, it's going to be the Lord of the Rings. Okay, no,
yeah.
let me hear it. Let me hear this.
Okay,
I love
okay,
it.
okay. So it's the ending in Return of the King. It's ending the trilogy. It's a 30-minute ending, 30+ minute. Where the hobbits are jumping on the beds, the elves are going, all this stuff. We know what we're talking about. But it does start. So if we're talking about these trilogy of songs here, it does start at the end of the Hobbit. It's Frodo wakes up and we have to jump in the bed. It's nice and it's elf, the elf world, and we're seeing all the nice stuff. So that's a slow song. Then we get to the marriage of Aragorn and Liv Tyler. I forget her character name, but whatever. And that's like a big ceremony, and there's a bunch of people. It's almost like in Star Wars when we do the ceremony with the medals and stuff. And that's like a big song. That's this song. But then we still have the last moment moment where Frodo and Gandalf go back to the Shire. We're really being done with it. And that's a slow song, and that's what we have in our final song.
Ugh.
I I
I lo-
I did not expect this to happen today, and I am so happy it did.
There you
I'm
go.
so
I will
excited.
also
I'm
I will
so
also
excited.
say, like, is Sam Wise singing "I'll Catch You" to Frodo?
There you go. Oh, shit.
Oh my gosh. I did not have that on my bingo card today, but I'm sure happy it showed up. Here we are.
Here we are.
Jeff, this sounds like the most outlandish. This is like the outlandish shit I come up with. I love every second of it. The Kevin came up with it. This is amazing. I love it.
I mean, isn't the quest to drop the ring and into Mordor something you write home about? You know, once it's all
And
said and done.
and you know what? If we're really gonna do this, that climax of dropping the ring into Mordor is I'm a loner, Dottie, a rebel. That's the big climax. So we're real. And my apology is when Gollum is trying to help.
So
I,
I can't even with this. This is too much. I love every second of it.
Matt Pryor is going to spit out his milkshake when he's listening to this podcast,
And he's gonna
and
say,
finally he's
"They
like, "They
figured me
finally
out.
got it."
They figured me out. They finally understand it." Which would make no sense because the movies came out far after this record came out. But the books, maybe he was going with the books.
He was the book guy. Yeah, he's a book guy,
He was a book
Yeah.
guy. Right.
or he's that late '70s animated version of it.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah, the Hobbit. Yeah, no, there's the whole one. Yeah.
I don't even
Oh
know how
my!
to segue out of, I don't even know how to segue out of this. Here we go.
Don't worry, Phil. I'll
Uh,
catch you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's get on to I'll Catch You. I can tell you this right now. I think it's one of the best closing songs of any album ever.
I
Yep,
agree.
I went there. I went there.
I agree.
Well, you know, we always notice this when a track opens with when an album opens with fire, you
Yeah.
set the expectation that you have to stick the landing. And
Mhm.
I mean, it is a completely different sound to Holiday. It feels like a different band when you get to this
Mhm.
point, and I think it's also the band growing up by the end of the album. They are no longer Get Up kids; they are Get Up young adults.
Oh,
Oh, I
nicely done.
like that. Well,
Nice.
you know, it's funny. It's funny you say that because every time I hear this song, what do I think about, Jeff? What
I don't
book do I
know.
go to?
Young adults.
I no, I go to Catcher in the Rye every
Oh,
time
I'm
I
catching
hear
the
it.
ride, right?
Yeah. I was like, Jeff, where we going with
I
it?
was
No,
like
it's
the
Catcher in the
Bible.
I was gonna
No,
say,
it's
well,
just
wait, Lord of the Rings? Are you sticking with it? Is that-
no, I kind of wish I had. No, but though every
Yeah,
time I hear this song, I think about Catcher in the Rye and
Right.
how it how Holden wishes to be the catcher in the rye, the person who catches the children as they about to fall off the cliff and to save them from their innocence and everything. Every time I hear this song, it makes me think of that book. And I think that still kind of fits the album that this is a group of young adults. We've joked around, they're not the Get Up kids anymore. They're the Get Up young adults. Great job, Jeff. And they're looking back and like seeing possibly like who could I save before they, and or again, it's a relationship. It comes across as a relationship song. Don't worry, I'll catch you. No matter what happens, this relationship we're gonna be in together. I'll catch you, and whenever you're straying or whatever. But like, I also see it kind of analogous to the record like industry that you'll like we're a band and we'll catch you. We'll see you making your mistakes. Well, no, I'll catch you before you fall and lose out on it. I don't know. It's a very grown up song because again, that moment in Catching the Rye is where Holden's really like understanding what a loss of innocence really is and wanted to save others from it. Okay, there's my literary reference.
no, I
Not as good,
Right.
not as good as Lord of the Rings, but I think, but it definitely that's my
Good
literary
word.
reference for the episode.
I think J.D. Salinger is thrilled that,
I hope so.
and
Yep.
I believe J.D. Salinger would have loved this song. I don't know. This song might have came out while he was still alive. So I don't. And he was a recluse. We don't know what he was listening to. So maybe he was listening to it. We don't know.
Jay Salinger, original emo. He was
Yeah.
sugar.
Well, kinda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda
Yeah.
was. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's not too far
Definitely.
off.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Holden Caulfield there. Uh, but You know what it's out the other part of this song, and I didn't track it to the whole thing, but it came up a lot where the narrator of the songs is often being defending themselves or being spited at and pushing back, and this one is literally I'll catch you. Like it's no longer like an affront happening to me or like sorry, Dottie, I'm getting out of town. It's just it's sincerely like I'm here for you,
Mhm.
and that's a new
Yeah.
feeling as well. Also, a maturation as well.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it's yeah, good. Sorry, Kevin, good.
that's good. I mean, it's a beautiful. I think it's their most beautiful, melody for sure on this record, if maybe all of their melodies. I think the composition is really beautiful as well. I think it, Jeff, you said earlier, like hearing Holiday and then this, it's like if you were to pay them back to back, you would say these are not the same band. Um, I did read, I believe, somewhere on the wilds of the internet that I think it's meant or written for his now wife, who I think then was not his wife, but I think they were a long time couple. And again, he's out on tour. you but yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful song and a great closer, great closing song.
Great closer.
I mean, the
Jeff,
just sorry.
just real. Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I just as far as lines, like a description of hearing that it was about a long-term relationship and that's been together for so long. To say like we've been on the same page this whole time is like an unspoken balance here, unabridged for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a really it's a beautiful use of unspoken and unabridged to tie that together.
It's a very sweet song, and as much
Mm-hmm.
as because like as much as I was the punk guy who was like, nah, emotions are not good, all anger all the time. Like just to hear like this album being like, okay, like I might know what this guy's talking about. I might be able to at least make some connection to myself, and I did, and I did.
Well,
Jeff,
I think Angry Little Phil would have enjoyed going to the journey of this song because while it's a ballad and it's beautiful, it's again just a heartfelt song, to close everything. The bridge starts to get a little louder, and then
Yeah.
we get to that outro, and that outro, it
yeah,
it has a little aggressive verse at the end just to
Yeah.
remind
yeah,
you like this is a punk band who just did this.
Mm-hmm. I also love that one, it doesn't end on the chorus, it ends on its own outro, and two, it is a hard ending. Still
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
matters to me. Yeah.
I mean, it's just basically it comes out of nowhere with it, and because you're like getting lulled into this quiet,
Mm-hmm.
lovely little melody, and then he's like, nah, just in case you forgot, we're
Mm-hmm.
still Bratty Pack at heart, and I'm gonna be very loud right here,
yeah,
because you're turning the volume up, and you're like, what's he gonna say? And then like comes
Yeah.
at you real loud. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Awesome.
mean, it ends the album because it could have just ended softly like we've heard many albums end, but yeah, coming in there like that is fast, it's aggressive, and it's tidier than the Lord of the Rings ending.
Yep.
yeah, which is good because I mean anything would be more tidy than that. 30-minute escapade with 17 false endings. That's the. I
And
remember
that's
being in the
not
theater.
that's not even the extended version.
Yeah, that's not the extent of it. No, I remember being in the theater. I'd be like, seriously, we're gonna go for another ending?
Yeah.
All right then.
Has
All
anybody
right then.
here done the extended edition marathon?
Oh
I'm
God.
not.
Oh,
It's like 4 hours each movie, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
that
I think you got to do it at least once in your
I'll
life.
do it. I'll do
Yeah.
it. I'll get there.
that's hardcore. You know what else is hardcore? Janie Salinger would have been 70 when this album came out. And do you know where he died?
In
Somewhere in the
Lawrence,
Northeast.
Kansas.
Right here in New Hampshire is where he died.
Ah.
And where were you, Phil, when he died?
I was also in New Hampshire.
Oh, interesting.
Spoiler
Oh,
alert. Yeah, no. Yeah, let's not
oh,
start any weird conspiracy theories,
Uh-huh.
okay?
okay, okay. Good to
Yeah.
know. Did
Yeah.
you happen to secure the movie rights to Catcher in the Rye at any point before that?
Uh, I would. This is a move. This is a book. I don't think you can make a movie out of. I think it's just one
Hmm.
of those. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can
I
do it.
mean, you make a movie out of trying to make the movie, just like they did with what was the fucking adaptation? There you go.
Yeah. And you have Pixar do it.
There you
Pixar
go.
is great to it.
Even better. Even better.
I just want to see Holden Caulfield animated like a Pixar
Animated.
character. Yeah. It's a red hunting hat. I don't want to talk about Captain Ron anymore, Phil. So do you have any questions?
I do. All right, let's go. Here we go. Actually, I'm going to update you guys on the count between Take It Back Sunny and Alkaline Trio that we started earlier in the
Ooh.
episode. If you to only use season 1, it would be Take It Back Sunday 4, Alkaline Trio 2.
Okay.
If you would include up to this episode, it would be 4-4, Jeff. Like you said, a tie. It would be Alkaline Trio comes back on for 2 more. It'd be 4-4.
Okay.
All right.
Folks
Well,
who, there you
so
go. So
somebody's going to email the future guests and rig this contest.
rig this contest to no end. I love how that is. All right, we've now finished this underappreciated album that needs to be appreciated more on the wholesale. Jeff, tough question ahead of you. What do you think is the best song on the album?
Ooh.
This literally is it's a three-way competition for me. So just so we know
sure
we know
is.
it's happening here. And I'm stressed about it, which is no,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I've written it down 4 times and I've
no,
scratched
it's
it out
it's
like
it's
that.
really hard.
It's
And it and two kind of rose to the top for a bit, and then Kevin had me tipping another way earlier with a comment. But I gotta go with my gut. And if I look at this, I know what song I'm gonna put on to get me pumped up. It's gonna be 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. 10 minutes. All right. Kevin, do you want me to go to give you more time to think, or are you ready for this?
You go ahead. Yeah, I'll take another second.
Okay. I am the big pause because I have to read them like looking at it and like, no, it is. It's I'm a loner Dottie. It's always gonna be for me, it's the absolute most bangerest song on the album for me. And we'll throw it on and be like, yeah, we're doing this. I love every second of this. All right, Kevin.
I have a
At least
small clarification question. You said best song. Is there also personal favorite, or is that the same?
We had
two.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got another question coming up. I'll give you this. We'll give you the spoiler. It's okay. I don't mind. I will ask you, what do you think is the sleeper song?
Okay, sleeper. So right now we're saying best, and then sleepers coming later. Okay.
What do you think is the best? The best, of course. It's always subjective.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys have chosen the two that I'm going to choose one of. I I think it's 10 minutes because I think 10 minutes is more of a song. Like there's, more going on in that song. Not that that necessarily means it's a better song, but I think I guess it does. 10 minutes. I'm team 10 minutes.
Team 10 minutes. There we go. All right, Jeff. Not many to choose from, but what song are you going to skip?
I am going to skip The Company Dime.
Company Dime. Yeah.
Because I almost
Kevin,
even during my re-listen to prepare, I almost skipped it.
it hasn't changed in how many years? 25 years. It hasn't changed 25 years.
25.
Kevin, what do you think?
What
do you think?
I am in the same boat, and I already spoke a little bit to it, but yeah, the Company Dime. It's right, and it's almost smack dab in the middle. I guess 10 minutes is truly in the middle song, but just feels like, yeah. And I do remember back in the day touching my CD player and hitting skip.
Because that is the correct song to skip on. It is Company Dime. It's the weakest of the bunch, and which is actually kind of hard to say because it's a really solid album. But it's just
Sure.
It's definitely the one I feel like needs to go back into the oven for 10 more minutes and then bake a little longer. Maybe we'll have what we need it to be.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff. What do you think is the sleeper song on this album?
I'm gonna just say, yeah, it's I'll Catch You. Because I think let's face it, if you're putting together a playlist of aughts emo songs, you're probably gonna put the bangers on and miss out on just a beautiful song that closes this album.
What about you, Kevin? What do you think is the sleeper song?
I think the sleeper is Close to Home because Jeff, earlier you said you feel like it's their anthem. I don't feel like it's anthem, but I feel like it is the sleeper.
Jeff, I'll catch you too, because I think I'll catch you as a sleeper of the album. It's just, I think it's because how great Holiday is, which was the other one I was debating on,
Yeah.
because I feel like that doesn't get enough love, because that's an amazing opening track. It is an amazing opening track. It sets the tone really for the whole album, even though there's going to be parts that are slower and all that. But I feel like as just a piece of music, just a piece of music, I'll Catch You is this beautiful 4-minute thing at the end of an album, which it's all almost all bangers. I mean, there's two in the middle where you're like, maybe not, but otherwise, out of a 12 song album, 10 are awesome. That's mathematically, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But you have this like very bombastic sound throughout a lot of the songs, and then you get this like beautiful, sweet piece of music at the end, only to explode right at the end before it goes off. That like, no, just make sure we're still a punk band. So I will go with I'll Catch You.
Well, what I like is we all chose the last two tracks in the album, and I honestly think other side from Rebel and Gotti on side B, side A is the strongest side. So I'm happy to see that we found the gems on side B.
Yeah, for sure.
Phil, before we wrap it up, I was wondering if we could play one more song.
Sure.
We have Kevin Brennan here, and he's an incredible musician and has some incredible music out there. Kevin, what song can we play of yours to close out this Get Up Kids?
Let's do let's see. It's on Spotify. I've got a little EP up there as the Irish Goodbye. I mean, I'm thinking, should I stick thematically or you know what I am? I'll stick. The first track on my EP called Let's Get Nuts. The EP is called This Machine Kills. And
Amazing.
it's very much a summer and love and fleeting and regret and will we be here next summer or will I never see you again kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I've heard this song before, and it's definitely something to write home about. Here is the Irish Goodbyes, Let's Get Nuts. Well, thank you, Kevin, so much for coming to the diner. I hope the food was to your liking.
Thank you.
Excellent. It was excellent. Yes.
Phil, do you have anything that you want to wrap up with here?
I do. So folks at home, hello. If you're watching us on YouTube, hello. If you're listening to us on Spotify, also hello, but it's an audible hello. Remember, we have social media. We've got TikTok, we have Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. We do, as I said, have the platforms for YouTube and Spotify. We've got a shop on TeePublic where you can buy some fun merchandise. For example, folks at home can see I have the Millennial Diner podcast mug with the graffiti. I'm also wearing the Millennial Diner podcast Black Flag shirt because my wife, our executive producer, makes them, and they're badass, and I love every second of it. So if you want to get out some swag, go to TeePublic, search Millennial Diner podcast. I had a question for you, Kevin, before we wrap up. The band's name is the Irish Goodbye. When you play on stage, do you just like stop playing and just walk off?
There might have been a show or two or three or four or 17 where I've been drunk enough to do that. So sure.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering.
I wonder if that's how we'll end this podcast. All of a sudden it'll just go off.